All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do today, because to be honest, I don't like doing it. I do it because people say we should. So here's the situation. When we hire people, we decided years ago that if we're going to be the kind of place that everyone wants to work, then that transition from not being on the team to being on the team's got to be amazing. It's got to be a process where you go home your first day and you go, this might be the best place I've ever been. You go home after the first week and go, wow, they actually care, and I know what I'm doing, and I understand the role I play, and I understand why they make a difference in people's lives. And so we knew onboarding was really important. And then we went to a conference, a full day was all about onboarding. And to be honest, at that time, we were kind of like, we're really good at this. We're not really going to learn that much. And of course, we were wrong. And there were all kinds of great ideas that we learned from being at the conference. But the one that everyone else on our team liked, that I did not like, is why we're here today. Because this is the founding story. And the theory behind it by the people who were presenting is they said, look, some of you, the people who started the company, you've been through everything from start to finish. You know exactly what got you here. And some people have been with you for years, and they've seen the changes in your company. But when somebody starts, they have no idea what you've been through. So they really don't know the company. They only know what it is on that day. And so, as the saying goes, someone wakes up on third and they think they hit a triple. They don't know what the company's been through, the good and the bad. What I don't like about the founding story is it feels, as I talk about it today and every time I talk about it, like this very trip down memory lane, self-centered view of, let me tell you how we started and what we went through, because this company is not about what we went through. It is about what we do and our purpose and how we impact each other and how we make this the place that everyone wants to work and wants to be and loves what they're a part of and cares about who they're with. It's about being a part of a company that is not just, hey, we're moving widgets, we're making a difference in changing people's lives because they trust us. That's what this is about. But the feedback I've gotten repeatedly is that, in fact, the people who presented that day were right. And that is, people do get value out of hearing what we've been through. So with that said, I'm going to share this is our story. This is kind of the unfiltered, although thumbnail sketch of what we've been through. And so this law office started our start is not remarkable. We pretty much started like every company started, with an execution style murder. And so Alexis was working at another law firm, and I was at a different law firm, and I was on the defense side. So I was on when a lawyer or a law firm like us would sue somebody, the insurance companies hire a lawyer and law firm to defend them. So I was working at a company that did the defense of this. She was working in a firm that does exactly what we do, which fit her because she worked all through college working as what we would now call a paralegal in an injury law firm. So she got a job as a lawyer in an injury law firm, and I was on the other side of it. And at that time, I had told her that we will never work together. I knew I was going to start my own business one day, but it was never going to be with her. You can have your own thing if you want, but I'm working alone. I'm building my own thing. And just because we went to law school together doesn't mean we're going to work together. She was working, and one of the clients of the firm was in fact arrested for an execution style murder. And he was a part of a gang, and he was the person of interest and ultimately the person arrested for killing someone in another gang. And when he was arrested, he told the other people in his gang that the only person he had confessed to was a paralegal in Alexis's firm, and said it was the paralegal who called the cops on me. And so the gang put the word out that they were going to get revenge on that law firm. Now at that point, Alexis and I are pretty newly married. She's pregnant with our first kid. She's far enough along that she's showing that she's pregnant with the first kid. And so the way it works in my marriage is that if we have a 1-to-1 vote, that means I lose. So I voted that you are not going to risk getting shot over somebody else's beef that's got nothing to do with us. She voted nothing's going to happen to her. She'll be fine. She wants to keep working there because she's a new lawyer. She doesn't have a lot of experience as a lawyer, and no one's going to hire her, in her opinion, when I have very limited experience and I'm already pregnant and I'm showing, and they're going to be afraid that as soon as they're going to start training me and I'm going to have the kid, and then I'm going to not show up again. By the way, as a quick aside, we have hired successfully people who were pregnant and showing with their first kids or other kids. And generally, if someone was going to quit right after they have the kid, they're probably not going to apply. But anyway, that's our experience. So we were very worried about that. But I was pretty insistent, and I was kind of, look, you don't have to, you can make any choice you want as long as you choose to quit. So it was one of the few times in my marriage to this day that I won a 1-to-1 vote. So she went to them, and they had said to her, because they knew they were putting her into a tougher neighborhood, and they had multiple locations, and they said, if you ever want to go to a different location, just tell us, we'll put you in a different location. Suddenly now she's showing, and she's a new lawyer, and she goes, I want to move to a different location. They said, no, we're not moving you. So when they hired her, they didn't know, that she was going to be pregnant and showing, and so now she had to really leave the job. So that was on a Friday. On Monday, I called her from work, and my happy, unflappable wife was super unhappy. She was like, I want to work. I'm a lawyer. I want to work. So she started looking for jobs. I called her on Tuesday, and she was like way more unhappy, like all the way totally so upset that she was sitting at home doing nothing when she could be working. And of course, I was well aware of the fact that I was the reason that she had quit. And so after telling her for 2 years of dating, and then for the last year before that, we will never work together, I went home that night and I'm like, look, this is what we should do. You should just start a firm. We'll go in business. We'll do it together. Now, she had always wanted to work together. Her parents had worked together. She always said she wanted to work together. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So she said no. And she was like, you're only asking me because you know that I'm unhappy and you're trying to make me happy. And I was like, no, that's not why. That's not why. It's because I think we should work together. I've given it more thought. You don't really want to work with me. Yes, I do. So after all that time, if you fast forward 2 hours later, I'm begging Alexis to please work with me and let's start our own firm. So she agreed. Now, the funny thing is, I was happy where I was. I don't know. I'm not saying I would have stayed on the defense side forever. I'm not saying I wouldn't have started my own firm eventually. I thought I wanted to start my own firm eventually, but I really liked what I was doing. But at that time, she was unemployed. So then we're like, all right, well, now we have a problem. We're going to start a firm. We're brand new lawyers. We don't actually know anybody. We have no clients. We have no connections. We have no money. We have no plan. This all came about because of a client who committed a murder with a paralegal. This client never met Alexis. It had nothing to do with us in any way. And so we had no plan. So we're like, all right, how are we going to do this? So Alexis started looking for office space because in 1996, you couldn't just work from home. So we had to find a place to work. We had to find furniture. We had to get phones, things like that. But also, and this was kind of important, we had to find work. So Alexis started writing letters to every lawyer that she could find. She wrote probably hundreds of letters, but at least dozens and dozens to letters saying, I'll do research for you. I'll do research and writing. I'll show up at hearings. What do you need me to do? I want to work. I can work. I have a background in injury work from my years as in effect a paralegal doing this through college. What can I do? So she got a few people who responded and gave her some research and writing, which was a little bit of money. I went and I gave like 2 months notice to my firm I was at, even though I hadn't been there long, because I didn't want them being put behind the 8 ball because I hadn't planned to leave that early at all. And they had done nothing wrong. They had been great to me. And so then Alexis ends up sending a letter to somebody, and he responded and he said, "Come in, I might have some work for you." So he starts talking to her, and she tells him about me and where I was working. Where I was working was an insurance defense firm that was known to litigate a lot of cases. So we were very busy, we handled a lot of cases, and she told him how much I loved it. So this lawyer said, "I'd like to meet your husband." So Alexis calls me up and she's like, "Oh, this lawyer I met, he said he wants to meet with you." We didn't really know why, but we knew it was in some way possibly a path to him maybe giving us some more work. So one day at lunch, I ran over to his office, which was very close to where I worked, and I go in and he said to me, he goes, "Mark," talks to me a little bit, he's a super nice guy, and he goes, "Mark, if I never step into a courtroom again, it will be too soon." And he said, "I have all these cases that I'm litigating. Would you like to litigate them?" And I was like, at that time, by the way, we had exactly one client. We had one case and one client. And he offered to give me 13 cases that day, which I said yes to. He called the clients, got their permission, and I had 19 by the end of that week. And the deal was, he would get 50% of the fee, we'd get 50% of the fee. So and he would pay the cost because we didn't have any money to even pay our bills. And so now, people who've been in this industry can go, well, litigation's a lot of work, so to only get 50% to litigate the case. But at that time, it wasn't even close. The trust he was putting in us and the favor he was doing for us by letting us go and handle those cases gave us income that we didn't have otherwise, when we had no real path to bringing in cases. And what it really did was it started us on the process as we then had time to build a practice of some type. And back then I would see him a lot, and there were two lawyers in town, a guy named Alan Goldman and a guy named Bill Friedel. Now, if you're a young lawyer, you can go onto a listserv and you can ask questions, and there's a million ways to get feedback from lawyers, but at the time there was nothing like that. So I would pick up the phone and call these two lawyers I had met, and one of whom was another one of the ones Alexis had met through sending letters, and I would just ask them questions and try to get help when I knew I was up against something and I couldn't solve it. So here were these three lawyers who got nothing from it, but all really in their own ways, all made a really big impact and helped us really get going at that stage. And so what happened then was kind of a slow growth. Now, by the time I joined the firm, Alexis had our first kid. And so our first office was a reception area, a little office, and then a second office behind it. So the little office in the middle became the place that our son stayed all day. So, well, he stayed except for we'd let him out. He'd crawl around the office. By the way, you have to be super careful because staples and paper clips can't be on the floor once he started crawling. And so, but at first he was just in the bassinet or in the crib, I guess, or in the playpen. And so then the clients, I thought I didn't want the clients to see the kid. And then later on, we had a second kid a year later. But it turned out when the kids would be crawling around or walking around and we were there, and we thought the clients would be like, oh, that's so unprofessional. Clients loved, at least from their reaction, loved seeing the kids. They were coming in, they could tell we were young, getting going lawyers. They trusted us as it was. They could tell from looking at us we weren't the most experienced lawyers in town. And what they did was they actually got to know our kids, and they would sit there and they'd talk to the kids. The kids were too young to talk back. So what's funny is in our first several years of being lawyers, even though we're Jewish, our kids got more Christmas presents than Hanukkah presents, because all of our clients would bring in, not all of the clients, but many clients brought Christmas presents to the little kid, little boy, and then little boy and little girl that were in our office. And we got to have these great relationships with our clients. It was just Alexis and me. We had one young kid, then two young kids. We had no staff. We got to deal directly with every client. They got to deal directly with us. It was amazing. And so we found out right away how much we enjoyed working with clients. Now, it's not really a surprise, I think. I think we always would have enjoyed working with people. But because we were a staff of two, Alexis and me, we got to really enjoy being together with the clients, getting to know them, and it just became a part of who we were. And so we would answer, Alexis would answer the front desk phones usually, but if she was somewhere with the kids, I'd answer the phone. We really got to know them. And so we started to grow. Because injury cases take months to come in, and because we absolutely, fully, totally failed to plan, there were a lot of years early on where money was super, super tight. Like, we're not going to be able to pay the rent. We're overdue on the rent. If we wait, we can move this money so we pay the electric bill. Our final notice on electric bills came in multiple times a year. I did once get the car where they came to repossess my car. However, it was the one day Alexis drove the car, and so they didn't get to repossess it, and then we paid it. We did once get the electricity shut off, but that actually was because Alexis got into a fight with the electric company, not because we hadn't paid that bill. But there was a lot of tough years. And then one of the biggest things that happened in terms of an eye-opener is we had this slowly growing practice. We kept working with Carlos, the lawyer who gave us those cases, for years, even after we had our own cases and we made less money. And at a certain point, we were, in effect, losing money on his cases because we had time to put into our own cases. We kept working with him because we were so appreciative of the gift he had given us, and we knew we were of value to him because he didn't want to litigate if he could avoid it. He didn't want to find someone else. We had a good relationship. So we tried to do the right thing, and we kept working with him for extra years. So then there was this guy who used to come by our office. His name was Jim. And Jim sold Yellow Page ads. Jim is exactly who you want if you ever hire a salesman. He is this great guy, super personable, super persistent. So Jim would come by like twice a month on his way home because he lived in Ahwatukee where we were. And he would come by and just talk. That's it. He would just come by and talk and remind us sometimes that, we should really try advertising. We didn't have the money to advertise. There was no way, but he just kept coming. And finally, we're like, all right, we're going to give this guy a chance. And so we put up money we didn't really have. He didn't even sell for the real phone book, the one that was like a big phone book. He sold for phone books that were like this big. There was like an Ahwatukee phone book and a Chandler phone book and a Gilbert phone book. Every town and city had its own, little tiny book. And so he was trying to sell us he wanted to sell us more, but a 1/3 of one-page ad in a tiny book that was going to go to just Ahwatukee. And we were like, all right. So we scrimped up the money and we bought it. And the book came out and they got our ad wrong. I don't remember what they got wrong. I think they got the phone number right, but they got the address wrong or the name was spelled wrong. They did something wrong. Now, the way it works in the phone book industry back then in these directories was if they screwed up an ad, the most they owe you is a free ad the next year. That's what they owed us. We made a mistake, fight for a free ad, that's it. So Alexis said to me, now this is very interesting because Alexis is the best negotiator I've ever met in my whole life. In my life, without exception, I've never seen anything like it. I know I'm biased, it's totally true. I remember this very well, I just don't remember why. Alexis said to me that I am going to call the phone book and I'm going to get a free full-page ad for them messing up our 1/3 of a page ad. And I was like, Alexis, that's totally not reasonable because one, they only messed up a 1/3 of a page. They didn't mess it up entirely. They're not giving us a full-page ad. So she was going back to work and leaving me with the kids at home. I don't remember why that was. And she made me call. Now, I'm not as good of a negotiator as her, but she probably knew this because she's a great negotiator. She knows I'm afraid of her. So I get on the phone, and I still remember where I was standing in my kitchen. I was standing, the fridge is behind me, I'm facing the cupboard. I'm on the phone, and Jim got me on the phone with the person in charge of accounts, and I was like, I need a full page ad. Absolutely not. We don't even owe you a full replacement of the third of the page ad. We'll give you a discount, which normally I would have been like, that's reasonable. But I couldn't tell Alexis that. So I kept going and going and going. And finally, I don't remember if they had to bring on a manager's manager. At some point, they agreed to give us a full page ad in that little tiny book the next year. So we signed the contract. It was like amazing. We had taken this little tiny ad spend, which was a big deal for us, and third page, because it didn't work, because they did make a mistake, we got a full page ad. And then luck. Luck is what happened, by the way. What happens when opportunity meets preparation. But this was actually just luck. I don't know if it's either of those. But anyway, then that little tiny directory company got bought out by Yellow Book USA, the biggest nationwide phone book company. They went into every market with these huge phone books. So like they had an East Valley and a West Valley. They bought this company. And because they bought this company, they took this company's book. And because we had a full page ad in the book, when their next book came out, we were the second full page ad of all lawyers in a big book. If we had tried to do that in the local phone book company, one, there's zero chance we could have afforded it. And two, we would have been like page 53. That's how many lawyers there were, because it was the only way to advertise. Now we were page 2 on a huge book. And that's when we found the power of advertising, because our phones rang off the hook and we thought it was a good thing. We started hiring people. Our lives got way crazier, and we grew a lot. And we grew from, at that time, probably about 4 or 5 people in the office to the equivalent of about 15 people. There were actually 17, but 4 were full-time, so about 15 people. We grew from a handful of clients, probably a few dozen, up to 330 clients. And that all sounds great. And it was the worst thing that's happened from the time we started the office from a business standpoint. Because here's what happened. We used to know our clients by name, and they knew us by name, and we had really good relationships with our clients. And we could honestly say, even then, we didn't have the values then on the wall that we have now, but the idea was the same. We knew we cared about clients. We knew who we were. We knew why we liked the practice of law. We knew we were going to trial and fighting hard. We knew we were doing things the way we thought was the right way to do them. But all of a sudden, there wasn't time to talk to every client. And I couldn't keep up on every call back. And Alexis and I were the only lawyers, and we were doing a lot of litigation. So I was spending every day outside of the office. I got to the point where I started almost every conversation with, I'm sorry I didn't call you back sooner. I was so busy, I couldn't keep up. Alexis was so busy, she couldn't keep up. All of a sudden, instead of our clients loving us, or at least generally speaking, we had great relationships. All of a sudden, we had almost no relationships. I will say people are amazing, because I learned during those very tough years that if you pick up the phone and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, here's why I didn't call you back, people are unbelievably forgiving. As long as they know you mean it, I think. But it was great that people would forgive us. It was terrible that I had to ask for forgiveness repeatedly, but that was our reality. And so also, the relationship we had had with the staff of 3 or 4 or 5 people totally changed. And all of a sudden, there were people in our office that didn't like each other. And then I had a situation where I realized, I realized this at the time. If you come around a corner or you walk into a room and everyone stops talking, it means they're talking about something they don't want you to hear. If every time you come into the room or come around the corner, they stop talking, they're talking about you. And I thought it was so weird. I was saying to Alexis, I'm like, what's going on? Like, we have drama with the staff. People aren't smiling and talking to me. What is going on? So we thought we need to hire somebody to come in and make it better. So we hired someone to be the firm manager. And we said, all right, we're going to be lawyers. You run the firm. Which is actually when things got to the point where the staff hated each other. They started talking about us. We went from we couldn't keep up to a disaster in a matter of a few months because we didn't have the values we had. We didn't have the experience we have. I mean, the values on the wall, the experience we have, the way we hire. We just turned it over to somebody else. And in doing that, it got to the point where we couldn't keep up. Clients weren't being treated the way we wanted them to be treated. The team wasn't treating each other the way we'd want them to be treated. And we just we actually hit rock bottom when we learned that the person we had trusted was blind carbon copying someone on the team in addition to other stuff, trying to look like the hero at our expense. It was so painful. Now at this point, the tough years, we started the firm in November of 96. From 2004 till April of 2007 is when things went absolutely nuts and we couldn't keep up. In April of 2007, we had over 10 years of practice together. We had a firm of about 15 team members, and everything was a mess. And so we had what we now call Black Monday. And it was the day that we walked in and we let half of our staff go in one day. And not only was that horrible for the staff, although we didn't replace a single one of the staff members because we had done such a poor job managing and training and hiring that we were able to let half the staff go, hire no one, and get more done. People were spending so much time not living, not being purposeful, that they actually were able to get rid of half the team and be more efficient, which is amazing. But for us, it was so painful because we're 10 years into practice. We're basically starting over. We went from 330 files down to 70 some files. We went from 15 people down to about 4 people, including the 2 of us. It was like starting all over. But we did learn a huge lesson, which is we are never doing that again. Now, in truth, at the time, I think we would have said we're never going to grow again. We're just not doing it because growth had gone the opposite of what we wanted. We were going to get back to who we were. We're going to talk to our clients. We're going to know them. They're going to know us. They're going to know that we care. We're going to know what we're doing. Anyone we hire is going to be trained by us and directly by us, and we're going to make sure that this is exactly what we think it should be. But what's painful beyond that is to all of a sudden the phones stop ringing and it's much quieter. And in effect, it's like you're 10 years in and you're starting all over. Not really. By that point, we had tried a lot of cases and we were able to stop taking smaller cases and we were able to take much larger cases than when we started. But it was very painful. And at that point, I think the thought was, let's be who we are. If it weren't for a couple of people, I don't know how we would have made it through that. 2 people in particular, a woman named Carolyn and Dahlia, who is still here, if they hadn't been there to help Alexis when that staff was let go, I'm not sure we would have made it because those 2 had to run so fast and do so much to help Alexis stay afloat while I was out litigating everything I was litigating. It got so bad during the bad years that I would say to Alexis, I'd get to pick one night a week to work late. So let me explain work late. So it's 2007. So April 2007 was what we call Black Monday. So at that time, we had 6 kids, and Alexis was pregnant with the 7th, and the oldest kid was 10 years old. So we had 6 kids, 10 and under. She's pregnant with the 7th, and I said, I want to work late once a week. I worked late every day. In fact, I came home at the same time every day. It's whenever Alexis would call and say, you got to put these kids to bed. So that would range from 7:30 to 9 or so. But I got to pick one day a week where I'd come home late. late meant somewhere between about midnight and about 3 in the morning. And that was just so I could keep up with everything that was going on, because that's how kind of out of whack we had allowed it to become. So on the way after that, we're like, that's not happening. We're going to be much more intentional. The money situation was very tight again. We're 10 years in. The money's not in a good place. The clients aren't in a good place. The one great thing that came from that huge mistake is that we learned who we are and that we weren't going to budge from who we are. So even though we didn't yet have the values that we now call the values, they were there and they were solidified. And after that, when we hired, we were super intentional about how we hired. And as we grew very slowly at first, very carefully, to make sure we never reached a point again where clients said, I can't reach you, no one's calling me back. You know, we made sure that it didn't happen. And then we ended up getting to the point where we were introduced to the idea of values and the big three and measurement and making sure people knew this is my role and I'm going to be trained in my role and they're going to care about me enough to help support me in that role. And so that whole process, so now, yes, we do all the TV stuff and the radio and the billboards, and we market in about 4,000 ways, and we get the word out there. But the really cool thing is, now when we do internal surveys of the team, it is the opposite. Someone who worked here in 2004 to 2007, well, Dahlia did, but other than the one person who was still here in that time, and I'm sure Dahlia would back this up, it is unrecognizable. We have people on this team who socialize, a lot of people socialize outside of work. But beyond that, when we do the surveys of how happy people are, the anonymous surveys, the feedback we get is excellent. And our client surveys, the feedback we're getting is overwhelmingly excellent. And it all came from kind of this process of the evolution, the pain, and then saying this was our fault. We failed to make sure that we stuck to our core values of what we are. And that's ultimately how we got to where we are today. Now, I do like to talk about some of the values. So all 10 values are equal, but I have a favorite. So I love the value that we passionately pursue our client's best outcome. The reason I love it is I love the passion part, because to me, to be great at anything, you have to want it and live it and want to get after it. And so the passionate pursuit I love. But the other part I love is it is not the passionate pursuit of the most amount of money. It is the passionate pursuit of our client's best outcome, which is not always money. Now, it's true that most people hire us because they want to make sure that they're fully compensated for what they've been through that was somebody else's fault entirely or partially. That's true. But that's not what everyone wants. Some people just want to know that they're going to be protected. Some people just want to know that they're not going to have to give statements they don't have to give or talk to insurance companies they don't want to talk to. Some people just want to know we're on their side. Other people want to be done as quickly as possible, but they want to be done as quickly as possible and make sure they hit each step they need to. Some people want to make sure that they don't owe anything to lien holders later. We passionately pursue our client's best outcome, which means that there are many times that we have a client who will say, I'll say to the client, or we as a team will say to the client, we think you should get at least this much. And we have had clients over the years go, that's fine, but I'm happy at this much. I just want to be done. Now at that point, what many law firms do is they push and push and push the client to do what the lawyer thinks is right. But we passionately pursue our client's best outcome. So if our client's best outcome includes being done because they're older or because they need the money desperately or there's some other reason, then we're going to support what they want and what's best for them. But the other piece is the passion piece, which means that if a client says, well, I think we should only go this way because my uncle told me that, how much work are you going to put in to make sure they're educated? And the other piece about the passion is anyone can walk through the motions in anything. If my doctor just walks through the motions, I don't know if I'll know that she's only doing that. I don't know if she's going above and beyond necessarily. If my mechanic just goes through the motions, I'm not sure I would know. From the outside looking in, a client may not know the lawyers who are just going through the motions, the ones who are passionately pursuing their best outcome. Because the passionate pursuit means we're going to talk about it here and figure out a way to get more. We're going to figure out a way to skip steps and speed it up if that's necessary. We're going to figure out the best, not just any expert. If we have to find the best expert in the country or in the world, are we going to take the time on the right cases where it's worth it for the client to spend that kind of money to interview all these experts and find them? What are we going to do to make sure that we train the people on our team to be better legal assistants, better paralegals, and better lawyers than whomever they're going up against and anyone else that they could have hired? And what about our use of technology? The fact that we will put in so much money and time to have a systems engineer on our team to make sure that our processes are more intentional and more clear so that we don't forget to do things. And the millions of things that have to go on with all the clients' cases, so many lawyers will say, you say to them, do you call your clients? Yes. Do you call all your clients every month? Yes. How do you know it? They don't know it because they don't passionately pursue their client's best outcome. They think they call their clients a lot, but they don't track it. Now, if you passionately care about the client experience, you will track the client experience. You will ask them if they're happy. You will make sure you're calling them every month or more. You will make sure you're taking every step. If you're passionately pursuing the client's best outcome, you're not going to just go, I'm a good lawyer, I'll remember to do everything. You are going to create a system using technology that will almost ensure that you will not forget any critical steps to make sure the client does better because they trusted us than trusting someone else. So the reason the values are so important is there are times where you're like, should we do this? Do we need to do this? Well, let's check our values. Our values say we passionately pursue our client's best outcome. Are we doing that here? And many times the values guide us. We provide an exceptional experience to our clients and potential new clients. You know how many lawyers I've talked to, interviewed, met with, friends around the country, and they will talk about clients and they'll go, I don't know what the client's complaining about. It's ridiculous. You know, what I did was fine. Okay, but that wouldn't work here because we provide an exceptional experience to our clients and potential new clients. So just doing good enough, that can work in some places, but here with our values for our clients and our potential new clients, it's an exceptional experience, and that's the measurement. So if a client says, I'm going to give a neutral review, I'm not sure if it was an okay experience, around here it's not good enough to go, well, you did enough, you know, the client was just difficult. No, we provide an exceptional experience. Is what we did in the interaction with this potential client or client exceptional? Is this something you would brag about? Are they going to go to their neighbor, friend, or family member and say, you won't believe what the husband and wife law team did? Because that's exceptional. And so having the values and using them guide us through so many different pieces of what we do. Another piece of things that happens here are that, you know, we're all living our life and there's a lot to do both here at work, but what about at home? And what about the fact that real life gets in the way? And we support and cheer for one another personally and professionally. That is one of our values. So that means when a team member has something come up and they can't be at work, or they need help because of something outside of work, or they need someone on the team to help them, we can look to our values, and we do. We support and cheer for one another personally and professionally. And there are times where you go, boy, is that really something that, you know, how do we handle this request? Well, are we supporting and cheering for one another? Are we doing it inside and outside of work? And so it's why it is probably not a coincidence that our creation of the values and our adoption of the values have played such a role. But I do want to say this one last thing about the values. When I was first introduced to the idea of doing values, I hated the idea because to me, values are the kinds of things that banks write up and put on their wall so they can point to them and say, see, we're a good bank. In other words, values to me felt like the most touchy-feely, nonsensical, worthless exercise. And so when we met the person who's had a huge impact on our business, who talked about, you know, values and talked about how to organize and make sure that we coach up and help each other and do everything that we're supposed to do, when he introduced the values, I was like, I'm not doing them. I'm not going to sit around making up values that are never going to get used so they look good. And he pushed and pushed, and finally I said, okay, we'll do it. So at that time, we had about 25 people on the team, and we sat down with them and we said, look, we had a whiteboard and we had the team together, and I said, look, we're going to put together values of who we are. I said, let me give you some examples. So we gave the team the examples of about 4 companies and what their values sounded like. I said, so what we have to do is decide, what are our values? What makes us, the husband and wife law team, different? What makes us, at our core, the company we are? And I grabbed the dry erase marker and I went to the whiteboard and I turned my back to the team. Now, first of all, that makes no sense because my handwriting is awful. I have no idea why I was the one writing things down. But what happened after that was one of the greatest days of my professional life. Because if you go back to the day we let half of our team go, replaced nobody, and we were more efficient. If you go back to the years where people on the team didn't like each other, and sometimes there were a couple of times people yelled at each other, and they were talking behind their backs, and there was a lot of people that didn't really care about it. On that day, so that would have been about 7 or 8 years later, we had this team of 25 people, committed, they liked each other, we knew the clients were happy, and I said, who are we? And I turned my back and I heard what everyone said they thought made us different. A different place to work, a different team to be a part of, different customer service and client service than from other places they had been. It's what they said that day that became our values. Our values were not created by Alexis and me. Our values were created by the team that was there that day. The reason it was an amazing day for me is to hear who the team felt we were and their excitement and passion about the process. They weren't just throwing out ideas. There were arguments in the room. There was a huge argument by 2 people who are still here on the team about the word professional, because one person said, the word professional's got to be in there. We are the most professional. We take care of our clients. We do things the right way. And someone else said, professional is the last thing we are. Professional is what big firms downtown that could care less about you say. We're actually part of the people and we care about them. And then other people joined in this debate. We had this whole discussion about whether the professional is or is not what we are. But what it really showed is that people cared deeply and they felt like they connected to each other and they connected to the clients. And that's the values that we live with every day. Those are the values that drive us. We use them when we hire. We use them as we train. If there are problems, we use them at that time. We use them in how we interact with clients when we have a problem. It is amazing how 10 values created by a team can impact us every day around here. So before the values, there are 2 things that this whole firm, 2 cornerstones this firm is built on before anything else. One is we are not going to make a single dollar from a single client because their neighbor said to call us or they heard good things or because they liked one of our ads or any of that. We are going to earn every dollar by providing a better combination of customer service and legal results to the people who trust us than if they had gone anywhere else. And are we going to hit that bat 1,000? No. Are we going to make mistakes? We know we're going to make mistakes. But we are not here to just be another injury firm. We're not here to be a big injury firm or even the biggest injury firm because they like the way we market. That is not why we are here. We are here to provide an unmatched combination of customer service and legal results. And as a part of this team, you should always know at every step that you can meet anyone from any law firm in the country that does what we do and know in your heart of hearts that you work at a place where the team cares about each other and they care about the clients and you are here for a reason. It is not a place and will never be a place for people who just want a job. There's a lot of places to get a job. There's nothing wrong with just wanting a job. It just doesn't fit here. Here, there's a lot of Kool-Aid drinking, and if you look around, you'll be surrounded by people who are a part of this because they feel like they're making a difference and they want to be around other people who make a difference. Nick Saban has a famous quote. I'm not totally thrilled with the way it's worded, but I'll share his quote. Mediocre people hate high achievers and high achievers hate mediocre people. I'm not a big fan of it because I don't think people are mediocre people just because they're not high achievers, but let's deal with what he's saying because it's totally true. People who just want to get by are super annoyed by the people who aren't comfortable just getting by. They want to be the best. They want to make a bigger difference. It's annoying to watch someone work that much harder. Chill out, dude. Just come to work, do your job, go home. So people that are always trying to strive more are super annoying to people who just want to be mediocre at their job. Now the flip side is people who want to be the best and be surrounded by the best and do better for the people who trust them or better in their job than anyone else are super annoyed by people who just want to get by. Hey, I'm here busting my tail because I actually care and I want to make a difference. Why am I being dragged along by someone who doesn't even care as much as I think they should care? The truth is, it's not about talent in this way. It's about how much it means to you. And you will find if you're here that if you're the kind of person who's just kind of looking for a job, you're just not going to like it. It's not a bad reflection on you. It just means you don't fit here. You're going to look around here and you're going to go, man, they drink a lot of Kool-Aid around here. Man, there's a lot of people getting hyped up. Boy, people are really excited about helping a client they don't even know or someone else's client help they don't even know. If you're like that, you probably won't love it here. But if you have worked your life for however long you've worked and you've been in place, you're like, I want to be in place where it matters and people are making a difference and I want to be surrounded by people who care like I care, then you'll find out you're in the right place. And that's the first cornerstone we sit on. We are going to provide an unmatched combination of customer service and legal results, and that's going to be the basis for how we grow. The other cornerstone is that we want everybody here on the day they retire. Some people are going to retire literally in a matter of months from now. Other people aren't going to retire for decades and decades. But on the day you retire, someone's going to turn to you and they're going to say, what was your favorite place you ever worked? What was your favorite job? And if we're doing what we want, you're going to go, the husband and wife law team. I love that place. I love being a part of it. I love what they meant. That's it. Are the values vital? They're absolutely vital, as you've heard about, as you know about. It's every step of our process. But it all rests on those two things. So even though if you're watching this whole video, that means there was some reason I could not be here to share this story with you directly as I would like to do. But welcome to the team. And if you have any questions, you make sure you speak up because you are not at a place where you need to duck your head and you need to worry about what if I get caught making a mistake. No, no, no. This is the kind of place where you get to raise your hand and go, I need help because I don't know how to do this. And instead of it being a negative, it's going to be celebrated because you care about what we're here for. You care about the cornerstone, our mission, which is providing an unmatched combination of service and results. So you raise your hand and you say, I need help because I can do better if I get more help. And you're going to find it amazing to be surrounded by people who actually care about how you do and coach you up and give you the opportunity to succeed. So thank you for being a part of us and giving us the chance to make this the best place you ever worked. We passionately pursue our client's best outcome. Think about the two key pieces to that. One, the most important one, passion. We're not just here to go through the motions and we'll try our darndest and see what happens. We are going to bring passion for every client to do what? To get their best outcome. You notice what that doesn't say? It doesn't say, we passionately pursue the most money. It's not what it says. We passionately pursue our client's best outcome. Many times that might be the most money. Many times it might be making sure that everything is paid and they don't have to look over their shoulder. Many times it might be communicating for them on tough issues so they don't have to deal with outside influences. They can focus on getting better. Whatever it is, when it comes to our clients, we passionately pursue our client's best outcome. We deliver an exceptional experience to our clients and potential new clients. It's not just, well, it's customer service and that's important. No, no, no. We deliver an exceptional experience to our clients, potential new clients. A client goes, you know what? That was pretty good. You guys did a pretty good job. Then we failed at living this value. It will be the kind of experience that not only our clients, but the people who are calling us and might want to hire us will turn to somebody and say, you would not believe what happened today with the husband and wife law team. It was amazing. You would not believe what that paralegal did for me. You would not believe, even though I called the office, I don't even know if they were able to help me or they haven't decided if they can help me, but the way they talked to me and helped explain everything and listen to what I had to say, This is the kind of service that comes with an exceptional experience, and we will strive for nothing less. We support and cheer for one another personally and professionally. You know what it's like to go to work and people are okay and they say hello and they ask you about your weekend, but they don't really care, and how different that is than when you're surrounded by people who support and cheer for you, not just at work, which is important, not just at work, but outside of work. They care about you. They care about your life. Now, being a part of a team where all of us support one another and cheer for one another with how we do at work and also our lives outside of work, because let's face it, work's a vital part of what we do. It's a part of what we do. There's family, there's friends, there's community, there's church or synagogue or mosque or whatever the case may be. And in this team, we support and cheer for one another inside and outside the office, and we do it together, and you can feel the difference once you're a part of this team. We develop personal relationships with our clients with empathy and understanding as our foundation. And this one, they taught me not to do in law school. When I was in law school, they said to us, listen, you need to keep an arm's length from your client. You need to have a professional relationship with your client. You don't want to have that kind of personal discussion because you'll be too close to the client. Yeah, that's not the way we roll around here at all. We develop personal relationships with our clients. You know why? Because they don't care what we know until they know that we care. And we do care, and we care about what's going on in their life. And we care, yes, about how the injury that we're helping them with has affected their life, but we care about their entire life and the impact we're making. And you know what happens with that? When you actually show empathy to someone and you truly care about what's going on and there's a relationship there, they're able to open up more and share more of some very difficult situations so we can help them even better. We can be better lawyers because we develop these relationships. And you know what else happens? When they know you're there for them, it affects how they interact with you and the process, and you never get that dreaded call. Every lawyer out there knows the dreaded call. It's a client that has the right to be fully compensated. Everything's on their side, but they've hated the process so much. They call up and they go, forget it, I quit, just get me out of it. I don't care that I'm not getting what I actually deserve. But when you develop personal relationships with your clients, they are far less likely to do that because they know you have their back from start to finish. We embrace a positive culture. That sounds easy, right? Yeah, we embrace it. You know how hard that is? Here's the truth. That's why this place is not meant for a lot of people. A lot of people kind of look at everything in life through that negative lens. And when you do that, it's hard to really be there for each other and really take on the challenges. We take on some terrible things. Here's the unfortunate reality of what we do. We are helping many people through what could end up being the worst times of their life. It's awful. We don't want anyone to need our services. Now, if they need our services, we want them to choose us because of the way we treat them. But every day, we're there helping people through a very tough time. How do you get through that together? One way is to embrace a positive culture, to know that we are going to be here and we are going to be optimistic and we're going to be unrealistically optimistic if it takes it. We are going to be passionately optimistic. We are going to take positivity to whole new levels and we're going to lift each other up because we're going to get through these tough challenges. We're going to help people through tough times and we're going to do it together with unrelenting positivity. We help our team members. You know what I'm talking about. You know, the places you've been where no one actually helps each other because they're actually secretly hoping you'll fail so they can get your job, or they don't have to work as hard if you make a mistake and you get in trouble, and then you all go to lunch together and pretend that you're friends, but actually deep down, no one's actually cheering for one another, let alone stepping up to help each other. We are built here different. We are built here where you raise your hand and you go, I need some help. And many people will come there to help you. We are built in a way that it is all about helping our team members whenever they need that assistance. We take ownership of our position, and this one is hard to do. It is hard sometimes to go, boy, I'm gonna find a way to do this, but man, it's about time to go to lunch. But someone's waiting on me. Man, I'd like to go home right now. Somebody's waiting on me. I got something I want to do, but there's something else I need to do for someone. It is not about I did my best. Did your best get it done for the client counting on you? Did it get it done for the other person on the team who's counting on you? If it didn't, what are you going to do about it? Now, if right now you're going, well, that's not my job and I did my best and that's all you can ask of me, that's fine. But it won't be fine as part of this team, because here we take ownership of our position. So those many times that I can't do something, and by the way, for me, that happens all the time. You know what I do? I ask for help, because I'm taking ownership of what I have to do, and I go, who can help me to make sure this gets done? But it's not about just me. You can see that happen around here every single day and every hour of the day as people say, I'm not able to do this. It has to get done somehow. So I'm either going to work harder or work faster or find a way or bring in help, but this is my responsibility, and good enough is not good enough, and I tried hard isn't good enough. This is my job, and I'm going to make sure I take ownership and get it done. We produce quality work. As a law firm, what we put out there is going to be something that would make us proud. We're not going to put out garbage. We're not going to put out things that don't look like we put the time and effort necessary to reflect well on the people who trusted us and hired us and on the rest of our team members. Around here, we put quality work out there. We welcome the changes that arise from our continually improving systems. You know what that means? Around here, change. Why? I know people are afraid of change, but we're always trying to get better. We get better one of two ways. We either make a mistake, and instead of getting defensive and saying it's not our fault and blaming someone else, you know what we try to do? Go, what could we have done better so this won't happen again? And then we change our systems. The other thing is people on the team members go, I have a better idea. And we go, oh, that is a better idea. We're going to make that change too. We are constantly upgrading our technology, constantly upgrading our policies, constantly increasing our communication. We are always making changes around here, because good enough, that's not good enough around here. Being good is not as good as being the best. We are going to constantly strive to make sure we achieve the level that makes us know. We can look in the mirror and look at each other and say, we are providing an unmatched combination of customer service and legal results. And if we have to make change after change after change, that's what we're going to do, because we care about our mission. We interact with others in a way that shows respect, integrity, and makes our team proud. Now, here's the thing. The other 9 values, while they could be outward facing or inward facing, mostly are about us as a team first. This one is about what we do with members of the community, other law firms, judges, people outside the office. And we're not going to just interact with them and be grumpy or rude or short. We're not even going to meet them at their unhappy level and go, that's how they treated us. We're going to interact with them in a way that shows respect, integrity, and makes our team proud. The emails we send are going to be the kind that everyone else will go, yes, you rose above that. That's the way we want to do it. We're going to interact with others in a way that makes people say, that's the kind of firm I want representing me. That's the kind of firm I want to work with. I want a judge to look at it and go, wow, I see what they do there. That's the kind of firm I want to have in front of me in my court.